Hi, I'm the former unofficial fastest runner in the world. I have schizophrenia. I have nerve damage in my toes and other parts of my body. I've been making videos for over 6 years on 3 or more different platforms. I teach fitness, personal development, and various other topics. I'm a self-published author. My name's Andy, and this video is gonna be about tendons, just fitness knowledge, some life knowledge. So if you want to learn stuff, in a condensed but still high quality way, no like clickbait, no like lies or inaccurate teachings, then you should watch my videos. Now, I've already made videos about tendons. I've already taught what tendons are, how to train them. But I want to talk more about the technicality. So, two things. One, they heal faster, and two, they're stronger than muscle. So, let's talk about muscle first. So, there's what's called progressive overload, which is the idea that you continuously add more weight or resistance. But how the Soviets trained in Russia is they would add, drop, and gradually over time it would trend upwards, or they would do like a stair step, and they would stay at one weight for 7 or 8 weeks, then double the weight, 7 or 8 weeks, stay at that intensity. Now, the intensity is not just how much weight you're lifting. You could do 1 pound and have more intensity than 200 pounds. If with that 1 pound you're curling, you're lifting, you're extending thousands of times. Now, with muscles, it's fairly easy to put on mass. When they say lean mass, that just means how much muscle you have. If they say your lean body mass is this pounds, that's how much muscle and bones and other stuff you have. If they say you put on this much lean mass, then that's muscle. Lean body mass is everything except your fat. So it's your bones, your blood, all that. Now, with muscle, there's lean muscle mass, and that is something else. Lean mass, lean muscle tissue is all BS terminology. You either say, here's how to say it so that you don't confuse people and mislead people. Here's how to say it. You can say your body weight not including your fat, your muscle mass, lean muscle mass, and bulk muscle mass. And if you want to get fancy, you can start talking about type 2X muscle fibers, type 2A, bulk muscle mass is less dense muscle. So it's a muscle more filled with fat and water. That's what the vast majority of men have. If you never exercise or you're not big into exercising, you don't have a lot of muscle, you probably just have lean muscle mass. Lean muscle mass is what you have a genetic limit on. So, if you have lean muscle mass, since it's so dense, your arms aren't gonna be big. If you have lean muscle mass, if you have lean muscle mass and you're short or average height, your arms will not be big. Average height, like less than average. I'm talking less than average, because average height is tall. If you go around and you see short little petite grown women at like 5'1", 5'2", 5'3", and men, especially Asian men and some other men nowadays, because a bunch of short men and short women got married and had sex in the 90s and 2000s. So now everybody's short. Short men, 5'1", 5'2", 5'3", 5'4", 5'5", 5'6". You're gonna weigh less. You're gonna be smaller because 20% taller. I've said this before, people don't understand this. 20% taller is 20% wider, 20% deeper, longer. So, if you're 5'4", cause I'm 5'4", Usain Bolt is 6'5", plus he has bad scoliosis, so he's more like 6'6", 6'7". I also have bad scoliosis, so I'm more like 5'4.5". But Usain Bolt weighs, or used to weigh, I don't know what he weighs now, 205 pounds. Now, he has bulk muscle mass. When you see guns, big, that doesn't mean shit. That doesn't mean you're strong. That doesn't mean you train hard. Big is worse. Bodybuilders are weak. Mr. Olympia competitors are weak. Ronnie Coleman had huge legs and squats 800 pounds. I could squat 800 pounds or more in my prime, and I weighed 135. If you want size, you want aesthetics, and I'll get to tendons later, but if you want to be big, it's very easy. You don't lift weights, please. Don't lift weights. Weights aren't gonna get you jacked. You need to do push-ups, squats, dips, pull-ups, and sit-ups and crunches. Those 6. That's all you need. Do those. And forget your lower back, because you don't need lower back. Everyone is deadlifting. and you don't need to deadlift. Nobody is deadlifting correctly because they're strong men and world's strongest man is a competition. And there are these 400-pound men deadlifting a little over twice their body weight. So they're not strong, their lower backs are not strong. The average trained fitness enthusiast can deadlift twice or more of their body weight. If you want to talk strength relative to body weight, there is powerlifting, but powerlifting is so flawed because they only use 3 lifts: bench press, deadlift, and squat. So if you want to be a powerlifter, that's all you do. And strength relative to body weight is not just in those 3 movements. The deadlift works one muscle. It doesn't work your legs, it doesn't work your arms, it doesn't work your upper back, it works your lower back. That's all the deadlift does. If you want strength, train your tendons. Now, when you train your muscles for strength, you should be doing calisthenics, weighted bodyweight moves, because they build lean muscle mass at a higher max rep range, up to 15 reps. If you do 7 reps as your max reps, that's for weights and resistance bands, machines, weight cables. As soon as you hit that 8th rep, you're starting to build bulk muscle mass. 8 to 10, 8 to 12, 10 to 12. Even 6 to 8 is bad. And what that is a range for your max rep range. So when you say 10 to 12 or 8 to 12 or 6 to 8, you're saying you're gonna start. This is what you should be saying, but people don't know what they're talking about. But you're saying you'll start at 6 as your max reps, and when you get up to 8, you'll increase the weight until it goes back down to 6. But people don't actually do that. I doubt you that people test their 1 rep max and go until failure. They may say they go until failure, but they don't. And people who lift weights, heavy weights, are not gonna get jacked or strong. Bicep curling, if I can bicep curl 50 pounds, and I do it for reps, like 8 reps, each arm, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, that's not gonna get me any lean muscle mass. You're not gonna get stronger from that workout. You can get stronger in a single workout if you train the right way. There's a lot involved. It's too much to put into one video. I'll try to explain everything, but there's too much. I gotta explain the different types of muscle mass, the goals, the max rep ranges. There's a lot. People who say it's simple don't know what they're talking about. Because the experts don't know what they're talking about. No one knows what they're talking about. Everyone makes mistakes, and everyone weighs like 200 or 300 pounds, or close to 200 pounds. If you're so light, like you're close to 100 pounds body weight, you're not bicep curling 50 pounds for reps. If you are, you're already strong and you'll continue to get stronger. But as someone myself who has a ton of injuries, a ton of setbacks. I have extremely low testosterone. I used to produce breast milk, and I was given banned performance enhancing drugs against my will at the hospital. My body is messed up from all these injuries. I've been working out since I was 7 years old. You have what's called muscular experience. So you have 25 years of muscular experience. After those 25 years measured in days, so if I exert a muscle, doesn't matter how long, but I exert it today, that's 1 day. And it lasts a 24-hour time period. So if I do a set of max rep push-ups right now, I use front delts, chest, and triceps. And then I'll use that 1 day. And if I do more, I have up until 24 hours after that set. And if I go into the next hour, the 25th hour, that uses up day 2. And after 25 years of that, for all your muscles, all your body parts, your abs have about 10 years, your tendons have like 15 less years muscular experience, and your shoulders are always half and half between lean and bulk muscle mass. Now, when you lift weights, if you want to lift weights and build strength, weights have an advantage because you can do certain moves with them that body weight, there's no move for it. But body weight, you can still invent moves to train different parts of your body. You can get into different positions. You can press into the floor. People lie down on the floor. I tell them, lie down on your front and press straight down. So you're gonna lie down. I didn't press hard because I'm not trying to use my muscular experience, but they're like, okay, what's next? They're like dumb. They're like retarded, man. You're supposed to press as hard as you can. People ask, so how many reps? You go until failure. Like, it's based on the weight. It's not based on the reps. It is based on the reps. But you pick the weight that you can do 6 to 8. You wouldn't do 6 to 8, but you pick the weight that you can do that many reps of, and then you do that many reps. And a lot of people know that, but some beginners are just dumb. And that Soviet method I was explaining earlier is trash. Don't do that. Progressive overload does work. The reason progressive overload doesn't work for some people is because they're not training high enough intensity, not enough volume, not going to failure. Now, there are additional techniques like using lengthen against gravity position moves like the preacher curl. So you can have your arm out holding a weight or down on the bench and curl at an angle. Now with tendons, your tendons grow when you strain them in a 90-degree bent position. So you would use resistance bands or a bungee cord. You could bolt it to the floor with a suction cup if it doesn't have good surface for you to stand on. And you would stand on it or stand on the resistance band, I guess, and so that it's 90 degrees, but you're holding it like that. And you don't do reps. It's called isometrics. You lift. Your arms are hanging, and then you curl, but you don't come all the way up. So you will feel it in your tendons, specifically your bicep tendons and your wrist, forearm tendons. So for that, get preferably heavier resistance bands, because you're not lifting them all the way up. So if you were doing full range of motion reps, then because full range of motion reps, you're not bicep curling 100 pounds yet. But if it's a 100-pound resistance band and you're stuck here, you could be stuck here with 100 pounds after a few weeks of training. A 100-pound resistance band I could break, but I cannot rear delt fly 50 pounds with each arm. If you were to grab here or here, I could break it. If I were to grab here or here, a 100 pounds resistance band, I could break it. Break. So go heavier with your resistance bands. Buy a heavier resistance band. Now, I said I would talk about other stuff, so let's take a break from fitness. So, people talk about society, problems. Let me take off my glasses because I think I look better without them. They're right here. So you don't say, oh, I wish. You don't say, let me think about this. You don't say, oh, I wish no one wasted money on computers, because we could just all have our stuff, I don't know, on a phone and have a bigger screen. You don't say that, but that's actually the type of reasoning you need to come up with idealistic stuff. Let me put back on my guys. I don't like that. You wouldn't say like, oh, why do they fill toilet bowls with water and waste water every time you flush why don't they just leave it empty and have like a tissue at the bottom to catch the poop? And then when you flush, water comes down and flushes it, but when you poop, there's like a coating. Why do they waste that water? Children in Africa could drink that water. Not the poopy water. The tap water that's in the toilet bowl. Or you don't say, you get the point, you don't say these things, but all of these things are the idealistic things. So all the flaws, all the fallacies, all the wrongs and imperfections in life that surround us, we don't question them. We just take everything for granted. Like, why do smartphones need to be able to call across the world and just charge mobile data? Couldn't we save that resource for I don't know. So what I am getting at is utopia, because it has been studied and not a lot has been found. People think it's not realistic or it's impossible. It would be it would turn into socialism, where basically you redistribute the wealth, the land, the resources. So in the future, there's going to be AI lab-grown food. It's going to taste really good, it's going to be addictive, and there's going to be ads for it, and you're going to be able to get any food you want for cheap. That is going to revolutionize the world. This is not from me. I heard this in a YouTube video. Some of the stuff that's from me is accurate, and some stuff that I hear from other places, because I heard from other places, I'm not making it up. Now, in a utopia, it's simple. I'll explain. In a utopia, first, the jobs, there's many jobs. There's never a lack of jobs. There's jobs for everything. There will be jobs created. The currency will be for extra things: food, shelter, water, clothing, food, everything will be given for free. That is the job market. It's producing all of that. Producing more homes, producing more food, more water, more clothes. When the government gives grants and loans and they give stuff out for free, they will give out those basic necessities: good food, good clothes, and the laws that govern social life. There will be freedom, a lot of freedom. The things that are important will be restricted. Parenting. To be a parent, you'll have to go through a strict process, and people will be encouraged to be parents. So people will go through a screening, get tested. Not everyone will just get to be a parent when they turn 18. Also in a utopia, there will be a lot of surveillance, unfortunately, because crime would not be good in a utopia. So, police would not have guns. No one would have guns. No one would have weapons. In fact, 3D printers would be banned. No one would be allowed to build a 3D printer on their own from scratch and try to rebel. They would be locked up. If they have something they want to do, they could go to the district or institution and get something built. But, and people trusted to handle guns, 3D printers, they would still exist, just not, and so, also, so the government in a utopia would be, what did I say in the LinkedIn post? There would be, so, so there would be a system where there's no voting, there's no dictatorship. It's just, maybe I need to look it up, what I wrote. Okay, let me look it up, what I wrote. Wait, not that. Here. Let me just read this, because this will be better. Yeah, let me just read this. Utopia is simple. You have rules to control, systems to intervene, and a solid leadership that is not flawed, that is objective, unbiased, and that has spent years thinking prolonged on how to perfect every aspect of society. A world where we are surveilled but kept safe. A world where mankind's problems are solved systematically. The quintessence of perfection applied to life in the real world. Distribution of food, clothes, and shelter. Alliances with other countries to give them everything they want and end wars, and a brutal revamping of the economy to be for maximal output, meaning endless jobs and work available, and education relying on free knowledge online, and social classes consisting of a new currency for extra purchases only, food and basic necessities automatically provided, social life enhanced by radio, TV, and other media channels for individuals, and parenting set restrictions on. To ensure proper child care, the government turning it to a different turning to an indifferent preferential democracy where the government knows what is right and we make decisions based on the correct preferences inputted by the denizens. So the government knows what is right and they make decisions based on the correct preferences that the citizens, denizens, whoever gives. I ought to use the bathroom. So, if you want to create a utopia, there's more to than that. So, to create a utopia, the people have to be perfect. So, the question is, how do you get all these people to be perfect? So, in the parenting, all the current people, like if 10 years from now, 2035, we want to create a utopia here in the United States. All the existing people who aren't babies and can't speak and can't think, all the existing people would get retrained, and some of them wouldn't handle it. Because if we have perfect society, but the people aren't perfect, then we don't have perfect society. If the people food handling all the new good food, the utopian food, and all the bosses in the utopian jobs, and if they aren't perfect people, perfect as people, as a person, then we don't have a perfect utopia. Then we have what's called a partial utopia, where some things have been improved, but the smaller things have been left relatively unchanged. Now, to be a perfect person, what does it mean to be a perfect person? Let's talk about some personal development. So, let's say you have a friend, your friend Bob. Your friend Bob went to school, he went and got a job. Your friend Bob later got married and had kids. Your friend Bob spends time playing golf on the weekends or watching sports. And your friend Bob is overall nice. People like him. He has an above average IQ. He likes to stay in shape. He goes walking. He spends time with his wife. He takes care of his kids. And does that sound like a perfect person to you, or does that just sound like an average dude doing average things? Let me pause and ask you. I could talk all day, but let me pause and ask you what you think a perfect person would look like. Because this is what I specialize in. Perfect people are very little different from imperfect people. There's slight tweaks that you make. You can make these tweaks right now and be perfect later. One is you can't have biases, no biases. Two, you have to have logic and reasoning, be able to analyze, be able to think. Three is your flaws, your imperfections have to be minor. If it's a big flaw, a big imperfection, there has to be an excuse. A valid excuse. And four, you must have good traits. Some good traits, like you must be honest, genuine, compassionate, caring, open-minded. You must have some of those. You don't have to have all of them in a high amount, but you either have to be neutral, like you don't have to be the most open-minded to be a perfect person. You could be a neutral, not close-minded, not open-minded, neutral, and be a layman's perfect person. Layman's perfect as in you're not a robot. See, I didn't even pick it up. Like pick up, put down, pick up, put down. You know, we're not robots. Layman's perfect. In the layman's terms, what we mean by perfect is you're smart, you have good traits, you have good qualities, you don't have flaws. So that is perfect. A lot of people are close. But they just have that one bias or that one imperfection or that one trait that they're lacking. Now, so if if we want to talk more about utopia, there is, and I know I said I could talk about this all day, but that was about perfection, and I talked about layman's perfect. But utopia, I also could talk longer on too. It's just I have to think. I don't just spend all day thinking about this, you know. I know this, I teach this, but at the end of the day, I'm just a regular guy. Now, with regard to utopia, if you want to create a utopia, there has to be one leader. One leader. So it's not a dictatorship. I believe in my LinkedIn post, I describe it, but no, so here is the thing. Let's go back to talking about fitness for a bit. Later I'm going to talk about speed reading, but for the fitness stuff. So, wait. So back to fitness. So when you work out, what you want to do is you want to train one part of your body at a time if you can. If you have time, train more, but you're not gonna get a perfect workout training total body or push pull day, arms, legs days, upper, lower, because you're just not gonna get enough volume for your tendons and you're not gonna have enough time. It takes at least an hour to do a good solid day for 2 or 3 muscles. So like, if I wanted to train my rear delts, I'm not gonna get stronger rear delts by just doing reverse cable flies. I would have to do isometrics, overcoming isometrics in a lengthened position. So I would cross my arm over my chest, grab my hand, and try to contract my rear delt. It's in a lengthened position, and I'm trying to overcome the force of my hand pulling. If you want strength, you would have to train your tendons, as you need tendons. And your tendons support your muscles. So if you have strong muscles but weak tendons, then you'll break your tendons. But if you have strong tendons and okay muscles, then you're the strongest. Now, your tendons do add to your strength. They're a direct addition. So if my bicep muscle is strong enough only to bicep curl 10 pounds, but I have really incredibly strong tendons, then I can bicep curl 30, 40, 50 pounds. So it is a direct addition. Now, when you train tendons, you do not get as tired. You can strain in the bent arm position. You can keep straining. You won't get tired that easily. You'll just feel sore, like pain stimulus during, but as soon as you release the resistance bands, you roll back. So you, in theory, could do an entire 250 sets, because with resistance bands for muscle strength training, it would be 25 sets of max reps as the peak volume before it becomes overtrained, the perfect 10. But for tendon strength training with waist resistance bands, it would be around 10 times as much, so 250 max duration sets of isometric straining. Now, if I want to do endurance is good, but endurance will also use muscular experience. So, if I can do 100 push-ups, and I want to do more, I want to do 200 push-ups. For most people, that's quick, and you can keep growing and growing and growing, but endurance is not right. Because with endurance, you'll use up all your muscular experience and you won't build any muscle or very little strength. And the muscle you build that gives you that endurance will be bulk muscle mass. And bulk muscle mass is what you're constantly losing. After a strength training workout, the pump you get is bulk muscle mass, and it takes 21 days after your last workout of that muscle to start eating into the pre-existing muscle or the muscle you gain. So let's say I do 1 arm push-ups. Low reps because I can't do a lot. 1 arm push-ups, I gain a little bit of lean muscle mass, and I get a pump. 21 days later, pump gone. Starting to eat into the lean muscle mass I built, that I gained during that workout, and that I gained after I recovered. Later, all gone. Eating into the pre-existing muscle. So that's how it works. If it were bulk muscle mass, it's the same. It's just it's always being lost. All of it's always being lost.